My goodness, I mean, I never saw the like of it in my life from ministers. Never saw the like of it. Because your failure and inaction is just appalling. And we write our own speeches. We're not reading scripts turned out to you from your spin machine, which you have every day of the week. And I will not take any of the ridiculous criticism and personal criticism that you put on us. We represent the people, and we're here to represent the people. And going forward without interruption, if I could, I want to acknowledge all those who spoke here this evening in support of the motion, but not to ridiculous. And where are all your backbenchers? Where are Labour? Where are Sinn Féin? Look at the chamber and the people in distress and trauma, and a couple of us here in the chamber. And that's what the way you have it. You're out licking your wounds, I suppose, after the local elections and the European elections. I also want to acknowledge the great work that the Free Legal Advice Centre, FLAC, do. This matter. We believe it is timely and important motion that should generate significant cross-party support. As rural deputies in particular, it is a source of significant alarm to us that farmers and businesses who for years have been operating in good standing and with their banks are now being pursued through no fault of their own. It's shameful. This takes me to the heart of why we brought forward the motion. As we have noted there is here this evening, the most recent statistical mortgage arrears report from the Central Bank, you can quote this one at all, to the end of last year, quarter 18, concerning principal dwellings, houses, shows that the significant majority, approximately 14,000 loans acquired by unregulated loan owners in the course of the last quarter are performing restructured loans. And you didn't mention that at all. No, suits you statistics. But Minister Donohoe, I will take no indignation from you whatsoever. None. When you say that he understands it, we don't understand it at all. Surely, but that means that if you are understanding it, you're complicit in wrongdoing. And we know you're complicit in wrongdoing because we saw the bailiffs, we saw the mercenaries go into Northern Ireland, we saw the way they kicked the men out of the family in Balbriggan, we saw it down in Roscommon and many other places, and you just let him idly by, no prosecutions, with the complicit standing idle. But sorry.
You're a decent man. It's not fair to accuse a colleague of complicity in wrongdoing.
There was no one prosecuted.
It isn't fair.
Yeah, but that's because he gives us a lecture. If he says he's right and knows it all, he's complicit in it. Complicit in it. Yes. Despite this,
I mean, point of order.
You had your speech.
Does it fall to me to have to remind the deputy of the separation of powers in this country?
The clock stopped, Minister.
The deputy is not in a position. He is simply not in a position to stand up and lay at my feet a decision that the guards make or the Director of Public Prosecution make not to prosecute.
That is perfectly.
That is not a charge he can make.
That is perfectly fair. Deputy McGrath, please.
Inactivity.
The minister.
Standing idly by was a statement made by
that charge
long ago. Listen, despite this and despite the belief that if they simply act in good faith and try their level best, the regulatory powers in the state will protect them. But that's not happening. That has not been the experience of so many thousands of families right across the country. And the Minister trying to lecture us here, then we bring forward a motion, well researched and well figures there if he wants to quote them himself, but no. I was only in court this morning, and indeed shameful treatment down in the forecourts, shameful treatment by a major bank here, and I'll say who they are, AIB. Pure disgusting that we pump money into. I voted to save them, the biggest political mistake I ever made in my life, and I said that countless times here, and our grandchildren will be paying for it. What do? Give them, wave them the white, let them treat people like dirt. That's what's happening. In actual fact, what is going on here in the state was very much like the old Roman circus, where the innocent were thrown to the lions for the amusement of the profit of the elite. And it's disgusting. And a previous minister, and Taoiseach said vulture funds were good. Deputy Healy reminded of what vultures do. Anyone that's farming and living in the country know what they do, and I won't repeat it. If you think that is an overstatement, then I encourage the minister to spend a week or even a day with any of these families and let them see what it's like to see your entire life's work being eaten away from the inside by vicious and heartless vultures. It's like a corrosive rust. It's just sick and vile. And you mentioned about vile. We were vile. I mean, we're just telling the truth. We're talking to all emissions of the people. Gee, forget. We're bringing the message to the Parliament, albeit empty, albeit you all smoking, laughing and sneering at us, but the electorate will have the final say. Our motion is clear. We're calling on the government to accept the principle of the conclusions reached by FLAC, that there is a significant inequality of arms between the lender and the borrower, where the borrower may have no meaningful influence on the content of terms of the loan and may be wholly unaware that the lender is reserving the right to sell the loan onto the entity of its choice. That's deceit, plain and simple, call it nothing else. That is profoundly stark and brutally honest assessment of where we are. And you can call it what you like, but that's what it is. The powers of the lender and the power of the borrower are in no way fair or proportionate. The vultures and other regulated and unregulated entities have absolutely no fear whatsoever of the Central Bank's Code of Conduct on mortgage arrears. I've said it here numerous times. They're toothless, useless and fruitless regulators. And I said it's like rubbing margarine or butter to a fat sow's behind, and that's what you're doing. And that's how they're laughing all the way to the bank. And I've said that. The vultures are unregulated and unregulated entities have absolutely no fear of the bank's code of conduct. You might as well have right to Santa Claus, whistle Dixie. As our motion has said, a report on this was furnished to the Minister for Finance, your good self, in 2018, Minister. I accept that the element of our motion needed to be clearer and thank Deputy Pearce Doherty for raising that point. But we have no monopoly, we don't claim to have, and we don't have the resources that you have either. To be specific, what we are asking for is that the provisions of the Code of Conduct be given legislative force to ensure that all parts of the Code are expressly admissible in repossession hearings. This would have the effect of greatly diminishing the imbalance of power between the borrower and the lender, which is what is really at the heart of the difficulty here. And anybody who wants to see that can see it. We broadly agree with Flack's conclusions that not all elements of the report are acceptable or desirable. I think it is clear, even the context, given the context, the detail of the motion, what we meant, even if I accept that it would have been phrased to enable more clarity on the matter. Other speakers mentioned the request of the motion calling on the government to recognise the so-called vulture funds pose an immediate and overwhelming threat to borrowers in rural and urban Ireland, and also to accept that unregulated entities have demonstrated a clear unwillingness to abide to voluntary codes of conduct. And indeed, in talk to Micheál McGrath made that quite clear. They refused to come before the powers of the Oireachtas Committee in Finance. You won't give the Oireachtas Committee, you won't put that into the legislation that they must come before it. He accepted that the banks come in and they will answer questions and do their best and face the music. But they are carte blanche. Above all that, they do the dirty work, do like what was done by our invaders in our country before we got our own democracy, and you let them off with impunity. These points should not be open to negotiation, given how clear that they are. They must be regulated. They must be accountable to the House. We have to be accountable to the people. You must be accountable to the people. It's not a dictatorship. Sometimes you'd wonder. As we pointed out already, this motion must be seen in the context of what has happened with respect to the sale of mortgage loan books. We are referring specifically to the decision by allied Irish banks to sell a significant volume of non-performing right-to-let loans to Cerberus, involving right-to-let loans with an approximate value of $1 billion, involving at least 2,200 customers. Some not even known it. Do you care about those? Just throw them to the wolves, like the Romans did. This is to say nothing of the fact that the decision by AIB was preceded by the sale of 6,139 loans linked to family homes by permanent TSB, despite such accounts meeting the terms and agreed arrangements. What's the point in acting in good faith? And you have the agreements and restructuring, and you're meeting them, and the whole lot is just cleared away like snow off a ditch when the sun comes out. It's totally disgraceful and reprehensible. As I said, we must ask ourselves this important question, Minister. If the banks are only too willing to sell off both performing and non-performing loans, then what is the actual point in engaging with them at all? And you have to ask that question. Why should people bother being irresponsible when both those who are reckless and those who are acting in good faith are both being thrown to the wolves on the same case, Minister? I am asking you, Minister, to accept that we have both a very real and emerging problem with this problem in our state. Communities and families are living in absolute dread of receiving notification that loans are being sold on. They simply do not have confidence in the regulatory powers to protect their interests, and that needs to change, and it needs to change quickly. But by your attitude here tonight, Minister, and by your dismissal and your kind of annoyance with us putting down this motion, as much as I say we thought we had a monopoly, we never claimed that. You don't seem to be interested whatsoever, and you're totally seem to be in bed with the banks and with the vultures and do what they like, I don't mean that literally, and supporting them and letting them have carte blanche. And what about the people? The people that pay their hard taxes, the people who work and might and main to build up their businesses and indeed get a mortgage and look after them. And this is the treatment they get. And this is the way they're being let down by this government. You refused the Sinn Féin bill. You refused the Fianna Fáil bill. And now you seem to have totally opposed to this motion that we brought here forward tomorrow. And it's common sense. It's reflective. It's respective of the situation. And we need to have it accepted by you. You're a minority government. You told us all it was going to be new politics. Some new politics. Dictatorship is what it is. And look at the House tonight. It's more and two and Russian in Éireann. So the Labour Party, they're like Carrie fast they're gone. I'm it. Talk to Loch Imha. They're gone. Where is all the heroes from my colleagues from the hard left and all the rest of it? And I want to compliment, by the way, any deputy here that would win for Europe, and some of them that have been successful, and I wish them all well, the unsuccessful people too. But this is shameful. It's such an important issue. And it's all the same as you, Minister. I'm actually surprised you stayed tonight. I want to thank you for remaining for the whole debate, but seldom you do, and you're gone. There's no interest in the backbenchers, because you're the party of the big people. You're the party of the lined, twisted avenues up the morning with the tree line and the daffodils growing. That's what you are. You represent the elite, the rich, and to hell with the ordinary people. And it's a sad day for Ireland when that's the interest that you have. And it's a sad day for this country. And new politics, I won't say the word, but you know what I mean. It's new politics. It's dictatorship. You are beholden to the banks, to the spiritual funds and everything else, and the whole situation of funding for political parties, and we know what's going on, and it's supposed to be transparent and totally democratic. It's codswallop. You are the landed gentry people, you are the big business people, and Dublin, come in and see all the tower cranes. There's nothing going on in the rest of the country because AIB are closed for business. Many of the other banks are closed for business. They're not lending, they're not supporting the economy, they're not supporting loyal customers that they had for decades, and families that supported them. I had a businessman on to me recently in my own parish, just found out when he rang his bank, it was sold on the loan. He's 35 years dealing with him. His father was 30 years before that. Good employer. And that's the kind of respect you're showing there. We want to grow the economy and emerge it. You're growing the economy with foreign direct investment and slave labour and labour camps and different tourist newer which you've been forced to abandon. So please, Minister, reflect on what we have to offer. Listen to what we have to offer. We're elected by the people as well as ye, and don't try and compare. Dr. Hattie tonight was more reflective on what we are. He's an excellent deputy, certainly he is, and he does his best. Just because he's not supporting you now every day blindly, you're kind of stiff and criticising him. So thank you, Councillor, but again, when we bring forward a motion and research it as we're entitled to do, and thank you for your forbearance, we need it to be listened to with respect, not with indignation. Gormagut.